Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching A Haunting in Venice, starring Kenneth Branagh, Tina Fey, Michelle Yeoh, and several other big-name cast members, in the third adaptation that Kenneth Branagh has done of Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot books. Now, Kenneth Branagh's adaptation of Hercule Poirot has been seen as a bit controversial to Agatha Christie's fans, but as far as moviegoers are concerned, as far as just looking at the films as their own thing, I generally enjoyed, Murder on the Orient Express. And while I had some issues with Death on the Nile, I do still find it to be a bit of a guilty pleasure. Now this, now this story, A Haunting in Venice, is based off the Halloween Party book of Agatha Christie, which is actually considered one of her lesser works. But since this is a loose adaptation and since it delves into the supernatural, that it fits the Halloween season, I think it actually is my favorite of the Hercule Poirot adaptations that Branagh has done so far. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story follows Hercule Poirot as he's apparently retired from taking cases and is in Venice in the year 1947. As he attends a Halloween party at the behest of an author friend of his, played by Tina Fey, turns out she also wants to discredit a spiritual medium, played by Michelle Yeoh. She is trying to. The spiritual medium is there to contact the ghost of a child who died at the place where the Halloween party takes place. But when a few murders take place after the seance done by the medium, it's up to Poirot to essentially come out of retirement and to find out who's the murderer responsible for all the tragic stuff happening. But that's all I'll say about the story. Now, Hercule Poirot's deduction skills have been compared in the past to some other film detectives when it comes to his other films, and Branagh basically handles Hercule Poirot's deductions in a similar way here, where he gives interviews to every single one of the characters, and he uses the information he gleans from them, as well as a few other details that are sprinkled throughout the film when it comes to who the actual killer is. But unlike in Death on the Nile, it feels like his deductions make a little more sense when you see how the whole mystery stacks up with it. Not only does Poirot catch on to certain things very early on in the film, but he also happens to have his own psyche tested when it comes to his beliefs in ghosts and his beliefs in life after death. Especially considering that there are a fair amount of times in the film where it does seem like the supernatural things are happening, but there are also things that could be explained through everyday occurrences. You're unclear throughout most of the film of whether something is supernatural or whether something can be explained through everyday occurrences, but just appear supernatural. And that uncertainty definitely helps the creepy moments land a lot more than you'd expect. On top of that, I really like the cast members. Tina Fey is able to be in a role that's not entirely comedic for once, and she does well with both the dramatic roles and her snarky attitude. And Michelle Yeoh is always a treat, of course. I think her seance scene is really well done and definitely adds to the Halloween nature of the film. And on top of that, I really like how the film wraps up and how Poirot finds out who's responsible through clues that not only the audience can glean throughout the film, but also through logical deduction of what he's heard from all of the cast members that have been shown so far. It feels like his deduction makes a lot more sense than it did in Death on the Nile, and about as much sense as it did in Murder on the Orient Express. So, while I don't think that this is going to change your mind about Kenneth Branagh's style of filmmaking when it comes to the series, I do think it's definitely going to be a treat for those who want a Halloween mystery on their hands here. So that's why I'm going to give A Haunting in Venice an 8 out of 10. See you next time.